Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I know you all hate me because we missed an upload, but we were out doing some fun rally stuff and all that great stuff. But nonetheless, I'm your host, Harris, aka Monoxide, man of many automotive aspirations, and I'm here with my Bucky's wearing co-host. Represent, dude.
I do like the shirt.
This is one of my favorite shirts.
Yeah.
Bucky's, you made a killer t-shirt, but I am Sean. I have a BMW 1M that is orange, a blue Durango Hellcat. If you don't know your colors, there you go. You can look out for them. Find me, talk to me. Love talking about my cars. The last weekend was insane. I'm still feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
And then, actually, do you want to explain the show?
Yeah, so this is the Monoxide Podcast. If you didn't know, we like to take you beyond the meat and introduce you to some of the people that make our community so great.
And today, we have the man of many Mustangs, Dan Deckard, GunnIt Garage, an old buddy of mine, ours, who's been rallying with us for years. We wanted to get you on the podcast just because you do a lot of cool shit, dude. Like, you have a lot of cool cars. You're passionate about a very particular brand for very obvious reasons. So that's why I just wanted to get you on. So I guess kind of just, there's so many ways we can take this because we know Dan so well. Tell us. Okay.
Well, I figure I'm going to have to be a regular guest, I assume.
Yeah, not like we didn't just spend the entire weekend with him.
I know, that's the other tough part because we literally just spent 4 days partying across the country. So there's that. But let's just kick it off. Do you want to tell us about your latest acquisition first?
Yeah, so I think before this, if you haven't seen me around, I had a 2015 Mustang GT that my dad and I built together with help from local guys around the metro here. You know, you guys maybe don't run into them very often because they're all local Ford specialists, but we're hardcore Ford guys, and would like to think I'm the other guy with the orange Mustang that's not Mike Johnson. But it had another engine failure this year on the way down to a Mustang show in Iowa. And I got kind of fed up with it, so I went on the hunt, and I talked to my friend Harris here, and he kind of pushed me towards a certain vehicle that I had been eyeing for a while.
So with your old Mustang, it was built to the gills, right?
Yeah, I was trying to build myself a 2020 GT500 is what I was going for.
The Mustang GT500 from Wish, which you actually somehow ended up with anyway.
Yes. A lot of parts. I will give people some advice. I try and go the cheap route sometimes on parts. I'm like, oh, these are like cheap but highly rated, right? So you think, no big deal, I'm going to do this. And then, so now you've just spent that money. And then when those don't work out, you end up getting the stuff you should have gotten to begin with. So I started off doing that in the beginning and then realized that wasn't the way to go. But that car was, suspension, BC Racing coilovers in the front. Got rid of the rear ones because they blew out. So, again, another option that's a little on the cheaper side. So now I have Viking double adjustable shocks in the rear, UPR lowering springs. It's, I don't think there's a nut or bolt on the car I haven't touched. 4 dual pump fuel system. It was a 5.2 block, Whipple Gen 4. I was assuming about 800 crank, but I haven't had it on a dyno really. Every time it was supposed to go on a dyno, it was broken. So,
do you think, because you're going to be fixing that car up and you're going to be giving it to your dad, right?
Yep.
Is it going to still be in that power level, or is it going to go?
No, I'm going to tune it back down. So, not that my dad can't handle the power. He grew up drag racing because that was the only thing you could do with the cars and the suspension they had back then, right? Mm-hmm. So, he knows how to handle the power. And he's been wanting to go on rallies with me, but right now he drives a 99 Celine Cobra, which is one of, here I have it written down here, one of 12 made in 1999.
I love the notes, by the way, because it just shows like how excited you are for this. And I guarantee, like, knowing him, they're going to be immaculate notes, like important.
They're just bullet points here, but I didn't want to, people listen to your podcast, the 4 people that listen to it. So I thought that, I would take some notes so I didn't have people screaming at the radio when I hear something.
Oh, no, that's the best part. That's how we get all the what's it called? The engagement. Like when you say like one of, 10, somebody's going to go, no, actually that's 12.
Right.
The fact checking, especially on TikTok, is hilarious. Like we had somebody say that The S2000 was 2.4 liters, but don't quote me because like they were thinking about builds, which is stroked out and all that stuff.
Right.
Not the 2 liters or whatever that it is stock, and the comment section is just raving. So it's just, some people love the accurate facts, but man, when you get them inaccurate, it's the funniest thing in the world.
That is true. It does get me kind of lit up when I hear it. So yeah, it gets you all going.
So remember that for GunnIt Garage. You got to sprinkle some
some inaccurate facts in every once in a while.
Yeah. Also misspelling words, perfect. Using the wrong "they're" in it. We're. It gets people like, spell.
It's the best
grammar
thing ever.
Nazis, man.
Yeah, otherwise just actually have quality content. That helps too.
Yes.
Which we have a little bit of a mix. But anyway, so you're going to detune. So is it still going to be supercharged for your dad or no?
Yes. So the Whipple's going back on. It's at my friend's shop. He's in Hammond, Wisconsin, Midwest Diesel and Automotive. Another guy I met through a Mustang group, and he works on all my diesel trucks, and then he'll do some of this stuff for me. So it's there right now. I had a engine out of a 2015 F250, and so that's a Gen 2 Coyote block. Only difference between the Mustang and the F-150 those years is the intake cams. So I had to happen to have a set of Mustang cams sitting on the shelf from the previous build. So it's going back to a basically stock 5.0 Coyote with oil pump gears. That's one of the weak spots on the 5.0 motor. So that'll get rebuilt. The pulley that came from Whipple will go back on it, pushing probably around 8 or 9 pounds of boost, and it'll be back in that 600-ish range, 700 maybe, and it'll be plenty for that car.
What were you pushing before it blew?
I like I said, my guess is around 8. I did a dyno.
No, I mean like pounds of boost.
Oh, pounds of boost. Right now I'm hitting almost 16. 16 and a half maybe.
So yeah, definitely ramping it down a little bit.
Yeah, well, I went to lower compression. So the block that's in there now is 9.5 to 1, which is what the GT500 gets, I believe. Again, I don't know for sure. Don't kill me.
That's on your fact checks? Damn
yeah,
it.
right. So the Coyote, the normal one that would be in the GT of those years, I believe was 10 to 1. So a little bit, maybe even higher than that. Anyway, so when you lower the compression, the boost is lower as well. It doesn't push as much. It flows through the engine a little faster, I think. Again, not a scientist or pro by any means.
But if you would like to know more facts about boost, go back to our last episode with Kyle Larkin. That was such a great episode.
Yeah.
Like, he's just talking all about tuning. I'm actually doing the highlights for it right now and just going. There's some smart people, dude.
Oh, I know.
Dude, tuners and engine builders, like, we've had a lot of smart people on this podcast. It's wild.
No, and then you're trying to like keep up with the facts too, and you're like, "There's no way I'm going to remember all of this." So you're grabbing bits and pieces from everybody and going, "Okay."
Yeah, that's gonna be sweet to see your dad in that then. So, and then it gives you
to see him on the rallies.
Yeah, right. It's pretty cool. He just turned 65 in May, so but he still gets up. Him and I work together. I've had a great relationship with him for many, many years. He's probably my best friend, and we own a business together, so we see each other almost every day. There's people are always like, "Oh, is that like to work with your dad?" We have our moments where we have our little tiffs every now and again, but it seems to go pretty good.
I feel like that's any working relationship. Like, for example, like Sean and I, like, we have like 95% of the time it's like the best episodes ever. But every once in a while, we're gonna be at each other's throats just talking shit. But that's just, I feel like that's any relationship ever.
Oh yeah,
95. I was thinking probably like 75. I feel like a quarter of the time.
I've seen some little lovers quarrels.
Yeah,
going on
exactly.
But
sure. That's what's great about us, because we get over it. We know it's all for fun.
Oh yeah,
it's never serious.
I think you guys were doing something this weekend, and Mallory was like, "Are they being serious? I'm not really sure what's going on."
Probably my mental breakdown at the gas station.
Yeah,
where I started screaming at the ceiling. I was just like, "Yeah, let's have some fun with this." Okay, so the Mustang blew up. You're going to get it to your pops. However, I love the story that you got for this GT500. And you were asking me, what was it, like in the winter, I think it was?
Yeah, it was. I think it was right in the spring. This whole thing happened really fast.
That's right. Yeah, because you were asking me, like, some, like, hairdresser cars. Should I get, like, a basic, like, Porsche? Or, like, then you start thinking about, like, GTRs, or then, GTSs from, like, the AMGs or whatever. And then, I mean, what was the list of cars that you were considering before we got to this?
So I was, and I kind of had 30 grand sitting around, and I was like, all right, I'm going to I want something. I just want to pay cash for it. I plan on rebuilding the car, but I had this rally coming up. I couldn't go all summer without a rally car. I knew this rebuild was going to take longer than I could get by with. So I was like, I was just going to go buy something kind of cheaper and go for it. So that's when I was messaging you. I mean, I was Googling. I had been in some fast Audis. I've been thinking of cars I had seen as we're out. I had test drove that Porsche, the GT3 RS on the rally for bonus points there. Again, I didn't go very fast in it, but I thought, man, this thing's cool, but there's no way I had that kind of money. So I'm looking at, what are they? Okay, I'm going to sound, so all you Porsche guys out there, I'm really sorry, but what does Massey have?
He's got a Boxster.
Boxster, okay.
I don't know if you were looking quite.
No, I was looking newer.
Carreras, maybe?
Carrera, I think, is what it was. I was looking at. But then they're like, if everybody wants you to have the 911 turbos and stuff like that. So I was like, man, I really don't know what to do. I was trying to stay true to my Ford deal, so I was looking at Focus RSs because you can pick them up for 30.
Yeah, I was like, man, to see you in a Focus RS, okay. Let me preface this by saying it's a phenomenal, amazing car.
Absolutely.
But to go from what you were doing before, which is an 800 horsepower 5.0,
right,
to a hatchback that makes half the power, it didn't make sense. It'd be like going backwards for you based off of what you enjoy. Now, granted, I would love to have a 400 horsepower Focus RS. That'd be a blast. But I was like, damn, this isn't you.
Yeah. So I don't know. I was looking at whatever. I was Googling Audis by their 0 to 60 time. I mean, I was looking everywhere, all over the board. And then I had that conversation with you, and I said, and you were like, you know what? I've been in Mark's car. This thing is amazing. This is what you're going to want. And then, I'm a fix-it guy. I buy stuff broken all the time. I've got, I saw your little Yamaha TTR down there.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually picking one up this weekend that has the carburetors off of it, stuff like that. I just like to buy broken stuff, and then I fix it, and then I've got it at a cheaper price. I let my kids enjoy it. I enjoy it, and then I get rid of it later. So I told you I was going to find a broken GT500, and then I think you said, you're crazy, and then that was where we left the conversation. And then I think the next time I talked to you was when I had told you that I had the car.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you were also telling me, don't tell people about it, but that GT500 came in 4 colors?
Yeah, I think it was like white and cream, orange. I don't know. If you go check out our Instagram and TikTok,
it had some blue on there. The blue with
blue.
White stripes.
Some of the same blue that on Mark's car. Originally, though, so the car is a 2021 GT500 carbon fiber track pack car, what they would consider a golden ticket car. So it has. Sorry, I'm gonna silence this.
Yeah, no,
it has. Not that I'm super popular or anything, but.
So yeah, the golden track pack.
Yeah, golden ticket. Carbon fiber track pack. It is a white car with painted stripes, which is a $10,000 option, which is insane to me. I don't know why anybody would want to do that. I'm sure that's just a flex thing for a GT500 owner.
Big time.
Yeah, so it's basically the fully loaded, the biggest package you can get, and it had 1,249 miles on it. It never had the brake-in oil changed out of it. I mean, you got to go 1,000 miles on brake-in on those things. So it was same oil that came from Ford. It was brand new car. It had been run down a guardrail or something and just was body panels. No structural damage, no bags blown. I mean, it was, if you wanted a hit that totaled the car out, it was probably about as light as you can get. And so, well, back up a little bit. I was looking for a wrecked GT500. I was actually bidding on one with a friend of mine on Copart that went up to almost 60 grand. It had hit in the rear, orange one, carbon fiber track pack car. And he told me, don't do it. You're going to have too much money in the car. So then he says, I know a guy. So he hooks me up with a guy named Rob Bowen, who owns a parts farm down in Georgia. And what they do is they buy wrecked Mustangs and they part them out and sell all the parts stuff. They do all kinds of stuff. They do Hellcat stuff. They can do all kinds of things. So I get a hold of him, and he said, hey, I have this car. I was just about to list it. It's I was building it to rally, which is exactly what I wanted. And he ended up getting an allocation on a new Z06 C8 at MSRP. So he's like, I got to do that, and he was going to use that to rally instead. So I basically picked up his project about 90% done. All the body work was done. Everything was ready to go. Just needed paint. So original plan was to rock it just like how I showed you in the pictures. And again, if you go on our stuff, you can see it. My wife is very talented in making reels and things like that. So there's some transition things that she's done on there that's pretty cool. So anyway, I got it. I took it to our other rally friend, Jamie, down at Dipworks in Chippewa, and him and I worked on the car. We were, again, racking my brain on what I was going to wrap the car with or do with. Originally, I was going to just leave it all busted up.
The Harlequin look.
Yeah, exactly. But then I wanted to do this, and I thought if we're going to launch a social media thing, we're going to try and do it. I want to do it right. I want to draw some attention, not that wouldn't have. And so we decided to wrap the car Mystichrome. Dip the car Mystichrome with Jamie.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about this, because this is a very, I shouldn't say new territory for me, because I've always known about Plastidip.
Right.
I Plastidip the wheels of my Charger way back in the day. It actually looks decent. Nobody knew, because I actually, here's the thing about Plastidip. If you put the effort in, it actually looks really good. But a lot of people don't know what they're doing. And I wasn't a pro. So then I found out about this Autoflex thing, the Mystichrome that's on your car. What's the difference between that and Plastidip? I know you're not the expert here, but what did you learn from Jamie about this process?
Sure. So I think the same thing that you did, right? Plastidip, you think like the rattle can you can pick up at Fleet Farm, right? And you can hit stuff with. I've bought cars, so we buy, sell, trade. Well, I buy cars. I don't really get rid of them a lot. My wife gives me a hard time about that. But I've bought many Mustangs with Plastidip on them, old Fox bodies and stuff, and it is a pain to get off. But after talking to Jamie, basically Autoflex is automotive paint. It is paint that is peelable. So they put on something on the car first. There's a peelable primer that goes on it. So originally he sent me a picture of the car was like all black. Then he sprays on the tinted Autoflex product on over that. And then he goes automotive clear over that. So this car actually has 5 coats of automotive clear over it. I believe he uses the Autoflex brand of clear, but he said you can use any automotive clear, just have to add a Flex additive to it, which they do a lot of times when they're painting cars on your plastic parts and pieces, because they tend to flex and paint will crack otherwise. So supposedly in 5 years, this thing will be at its end of life, and I can just grab a corner and start peeling it all off in big sections.
Which is super cool. There's the chemical aspect of it too. That makes sense. I've always been a wrap guy, and arguably I still am, just because you can do crazy prints and all that stuff. I have a 5x8 print of a Lamborghini that I could probably just throw it on my Golf, if we're being honest. Mm-hmm. But there's pros and cons to both. But when you do a quality job, I think, what'd you pay, $4,000?
Yep.
For a sweet color flip that feels like paint. So that's actually what surprised me. I wasn't sold until did you touch his car at all, Sean?
No, I would have never touched.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not a look, don't touch guy. But I literally went to go touch it when you were showing it to I think it was Hamilton, or no, it was earlier in the rally, and I was like, dude, this feels like freaking paint. It's smooth. Whereas Plastidip, I expect it to be a little more rubbery.
Yep.
And I was just like, I'm sold. This is a legit option now. So yeah, thanks for telling us about that.
Yeah, you get the depth. So what other big seller on it is, I'm assuming you can ceramic coat anything, but so you can hit it with wax, you can buff it, you can wet sand it, you can do all that stuff like you would do with paint, and it does the same stuff. You get the depth. If you look at it, you kind of see through the clear, you see into the paint. I get people all the time just freaking out over it. They're like, "This is what kind of paint is this?" I was like, "No, this is a dip," and they're like, "No way." So yeah, it's definitely has a different look to it than vinyl would.
Yeah, and that's one of the problems with vinyl. Granted, vinyl also across the industry has its pros and cons. And having worked with a lot of different wrap shops, I got to pick up a thing or two here or there.
Yep.
Some of them might have a lot of orange peel in them. So if you look at a certain light, it's just not. It doesn't look HD. I don't know how to describe it really. But then some of the ones that look HD, they're super thick, or then they might fail or whatever. So it's hard to get a vinyl that has no orange peel, that lasts, that doesn't come back. And I think part of it comes down to installation too. If you have a total nobody installing dip, it's probably gonna look rough too.
Right.
So yeah, it's so weird. So many ways to customize cars nowadays.
I know.
And, dude, some of these dudes have been in the game for 20 years. The Tin Pros guys, they've been doing it for 20 years. And it's I didn't even know that about wrap until 5 years ago.
Right. It was probably one product back then, and that was it.
Yeah, 3M, they didn't even have 1080 or anything like that. They just had 3M vinyl, cricket cutter stuff. So before we continue on with the GT500, Was there anything in particular? Because I do want to make sure that we respect your time and you have a bunch of notes. Do you have anything in particular you wanted to touch on?
No, I was a little concerned about getting the car with the automatic. There's a lot of people complaining about that. First of all, it's not an automatic. It's a manual transmission that shifts automatically. It's a DCT. So it has two clutches. You got gears on either side, and it shifts between the two. It goes back and forth, and one is engaged or not engaged. I don't know. There's a whole scientific thing to it. So it kind of acts like one, but with seamless shifts. Mm-hmm. So that part of it is very cool. I've never driven anything like that before. It's pretty neat to me. On the track this weekend, I use my manual a lot, downshifting into the corners, things like that, which I'm learning is not the way you're supposed to do it anyway. You kind of rely on your brakes a little bit more as you come into corners, from what I understand, although the car does everything it's supposed to do when I do that. But as far as that goes, driving here through the cities on the way here this morning or this afternoon was kind of nice, just kind of kicking back and not having to worry about shifting and doing any of that kind of stuff. That was nice, but that was really my only concern. Otherwise, I'm super impressed with the car.
Yeah, I tell this to people all the time. That the the latest GT500 is one of the greatest cars I've ever driven, and I have a nice long list of cars that I've driven. Thankfully, being a photographer and all that fun stuff. But when I got to drive Mark's last year, which makes 1,014 to the wheels, what a great introduction, by the way, a souped-up GT500. Yeah, right? I actually managed to hook that thing and stick it. Like I floored it at about 30 miles an hour. I think we're in second gear, and didn't break loose. That car is so dummy proof. You could give the keys to anybody. Hi, that's me. Yeah. And I will not wreck it. Like that is the anti-Mustang. Whereas, your 5.0, it's the meme. You're going to hit a crowd or whatever. Oh, yeah. This was not like that. So when I drove Mark's Mustang, that was the weekend we went to go pick up Chaz's his Porsche in Detroit. So I got to feel my first Porsche experience, which is cool. I think I was making 600-700 wheel at the time.
Yep, the one he has now?
Correct, yes.
Okay, yep.
And there wasn't enough meth in it and all. It was an interesting drive back. And then I got to rally Mark's Mustang for 2 days, and I put on some serious miles. I hit very high three-digit speeds. And then when we came back, my dad also bought the AMG GTR, so I got to drive that on that Monday. So I had all these cars to kind of compare the Mustang to. And I could best compare it to my dad's GTR. That Mustang is so well built, unlike certain Chevy things that came out right away.
Well, don't get me started on GM. I
just wanted to get you started.
All day. Yeah.
We have a lot of GM fans, so I just had to, make them scream at the windshield for a second.
Yep.
But it when I got inside that Mustang, it actually felt like almost like a European interior, which is, luxury, and it felt like $100,000 car. And a lot of people, especially when it came out, they're like $100,000 for a Mustang. Right. You are freaking crazy. That felt like $100,000 car.
Yeah.
Would you? I mean, you've put on some miles now. How do you feel about it?
It's great. I mean, it's. I would put it in a supercar category. I mean, you're one of your lower end ones. But it handles like one. It drives like one. Again, I haven't driven a lot of supercars, but if you look at Ford in general, they've been huge in the European markets. They've always been. You look at this GT40 thing with them and Ferrari. Like they've always played those games. They play in that same stuff where you guys in your German cars and your tuner cars and all that kind of stuff. They dabble in that market. I've heard they're coming back to F1 now here.
2026.
Red Bull, yeah. So I'd like to think they know what they're doing.
Well, that's kind of why I'm super excited with what Ford's doing, especially with the GTD.
Yes.
Like so a lot of the F1 manufacturers, they have cars that I shouldn't say F1 manufacturers. I should say racing in general. If you're a manufacturer and you're doing racing, you're most likely building cars for enthusiasts, right? Mm-hmm. So I feel like that GTD is like, hey, let's get these enthusiasts coming over. Like that's going to be an insane car. And the fact that they're calling out Porsche, Lamborghini, and Ferrari makes it all that much better.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what are they? I didn't look at those specs, but what is it in the Nürburgring? It's like under 7 minutes or something.
The GTD?
That? Yeah.
Well, that's what they're aiming for. I don't think they've done it yet.
Oh, they haven't done it yet?
Not from what I haven't heard anything about it, but it's going to be 800 horsepower, dude. Like that is crazy. Like it's gonna be like the GT500 is already a bat out of hell, but it's gonna be full or pretty much full carbon. I don't know. I should really look at the specs again, but that suspension work.
Yeah, it's the same drivetrain. I believe that's in the GT500. So the same 5.2 supercharged V8. Except they're splitting, it's an 8-speed DCT, except they're splitting it up. So the transaxle or the transmission is going to be at the rear of the car. Mm-hmm. So it'll be like I think some old Corvettes have what they call a torque tube. So I think the transaxle is in the back and then the engine's in the front. So it balance them out a little bit more.
Do ZR1s have that?
I'm not sure.
I know the Scrap Life Garage guys, they were working on a ZR1 and it had one of those, the torque tube or whatever it's called. Yeah, so it's so interesting to see that. I don't know. Yeah. I've never seen one of those until like, in the last year. And I'm like, oh, that's different. But no, I'm really, really excited for that car. I would love to see them put a V8 in a Ford GT. That one broke my heart.
It did. I have that on my list here for the questions at the end there. I'm assuming that it's a very capable track machine. I've never seen this current gen. I've seen a couple I was at a Mecum auction and they had them there. I've never seen one on the street or.
Oh, you haven't seen the gray one we have here locally? It's always at Medina.
Is it really?
Yeah, he parks right in front of Mark's garage.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe I have seen that one.
Yeah, I almost hit him on accident the other day.
That'd be a really bad idea.
I was trying to do rollers while driving again, but that's a really wide car. Yeah. Dude, that's a super wide car. Holy shit. If you look at the new Ford GT, it is super wide.
Yeah.
Or at least it looks like it. But yeah, so you kind of said you don't want to mod this GT500, at least for now.
So for people listening, I do all of this stuff I have 4 kids and my wife Mallory. My dad is involved. Like we've been car stuff, motorsports, go. We hardly ever see them. That's why I only ever see you guys maybe once or twice a year when we're rallying. We're just going all the time. So my wife is great. She loves this stuff. She has her own car. We run rallies together. She's by my side all the time. My kids are starting to get into it. You met Rowan the other day. I promised her that I wouldn't. After 2 engines in the orange car, it was a hard sell for me to just be like, all right, now I'm going to pull the blower. I'm going to send it to Jokers. I'm going to do this. I'm going to turn it way up to 1,200 horse. That was a thing I'm trying to shy away from right now.
Which is fair. So I got a ride along with Gary Greco down in Chicago, who's also a big rally guy with us. I mean, he's done 1 million Crown rallies, I'm pretty sure. And he took me for a ride in his at the Atlanta Motorsports Park track. And that was amazing. Like even for a stock car, I shouldn't say even because it's still 760 horsepower. Like I feel like it's hard to enjoy a sub 4-figure car in this social media climate. I mean, do you feel like you're kind of always wanting to go up to 1,000 with the Durango or not really?
No, not really. It's way too big to be pushing that kind of power.
Yeah, a truck like that would freak me out a little bit. Yeah. There's all kinds of other factors now. You're rolling over and hitting something. Yeah, that would freak me out.
But I feel like nowadays, like it's with social media, I feel like some people find it hard to enjoy what they actually have. Like your Beamer's like 450-ish wheel.
Yeah, I'd say a little bit less than that probably.
That thing was a freaking blast, but then you look at Instagram, oh, this guy's doing 700 horsepower on an M2 or whatever. Stay tuned for the next swapping keys. But it's, I don't know. I feel like 760 is still a lot to handle.
Well, and it depends on the car too, because some people find older cars just being just underpowered, not enough to do what they want on a track. But like when you get usable power like 760, you were probably doing like you got like 10 seconds on me at Road America on the rally, and it's like and it's because you have more power and you were just like it's usable power and it wasn't slowing you down or anything. And then Mark got like another 10 seconds on you.
So it doubled the horsepower and he's pulling with 230 on Road America, and then I was getting a 240.
Yeah, and I got a 255.
Yeah.
I thought Mark got 228, or was that what he was on track to
That
do?
might have been his theoretical time, too.
He was so mad.
His best lap. If you took the best time from all his segments, then his theoretical best was like a 228.
Yeah, and my theoretical was a 237. So it'd be on par, right? So it dropped a few seconds down from there.
Mm-hmm. I was talking to Caleb Eisenberger, who we are going to have on this podcast in the near future. Wait till you hear what he's doing with his Corvette builds. It's it's going to be ridiculous. But I was talking to him because he has a lot of experience with Road America. Like he'd watch stuff there all the time. You know, he almost got a GT3 or whatever. That didn't work out. He just like, never mind. Because the 01's cooler. But anyways, I told him the times that Mark was putting down and what he was driving. He's like, holy shit, like that dude can drive. Because like I think he said like the fastest front of the pack cup cars were doing like 207 or something like
really?
that. Yeah, I'll have to look at what he said, but it's like Mark can drive, dude. I'm surprised they put him in the beginner category.
Well, he's got 50 plus track days.
He did the math. It's like 60.
He's been doing 60, and he's been doing it for years at several tracks and with cars of similar levels. I think he's raced Ferraris. He's done his Mustang, and he's done other events.
He has a couple Lambos too that I never see come out of the garage, but yeah.
He tracks the shit out of that Performante though.
Yep.
Yeah, he told me about some of the times he did on that, and yeah, it's impressive. So the fact that you were, really close to your theoretical also speaks to, your driving capability too. I mean, you were, what'd you say, 237?
237 on a theoretical, yeah.
And then what'd you actually get?
240.54.
So to be only 3 seconds behind your theoretical, especially on your first time at Road America, and not a ton of track days under your belt.
No, only while rallying. So
and you got other people on the track where you got to get point buys, and
that's what I think mostly slows you down. And that might have been part of Mark's problem. Although I'm pretty sure he got a few times where he was able to get out and kind of get ahead.
Well,
of the
again,
pack.
he was close enough to his theoretical best where he was only slowed down probably like a couple times. So if he didn't get those couple slowdowns, he would have hit like sub 230s.
Right.
Yeah, which is just nuts. You were passing the new GT3s too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I was passing a lot of stuff. I would say, yeah, there was a lot of things. But again, you don't know what's driver skill either. So I would like to think that I love to drive. I've been behind the wheel ever since I turned, before I even in 2000, and when I was 14, I actually crashed a minivan, but we can talk about that another time. Anyway, I like to think that I know what I'm doing, and for me, I was testing out stuff. So even with all the horsepower, braking is huge there, right? So if you're braking way too early, you're slowing yourself way down. Yeah. And one thing great about the GT500 is 16.5-inch rotors on the front, giant Brembo brakes, 2-piece rotors. Like I'm coming in to corners and I'm braking at, I'm getting real close and going 140 miles an hour and braking down to 80 right away and then coming in around the corner and then trying to power out of the apex. And so much so that I'm testing my abilities to where I went off the track in front of AJ. It felt like a real asshat doing that, but I'm sure he was like, who is this kid? First time I ever met him. I go into the grass, come back out, but I did not do that again. I was testing my braking. Oh, yeah. I went over the rumble strip and into the grass, probably about a full car length. It was all still seamless, came back around and got back on the track, no problem. But it was right in front of him.
Yeah, that's okay. I know about going into the grass, too.
Yeah, I have a great photo on his first ever rally, which was, back when I was... Team Stance Out back in the day, dude. It was a 2-day rally down to a drag strip, and I have a shot of him going into the track.
I was doing. They told me I could go do donuts on the track, so I'm like, it's a small track too, because it's just I think it was an 8th mile track.
Yeah, it's just 2 lanes.
8th mile track, 2 lanes, real skinny, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess this is the best spot. So I just started doing donuts, and I think I just like on my last donut, I just dipped down into the grass, and that was it. Then I'm like, okay, we're done.
Yeah. And I got a photo.
I don't need to end up in the ditch.
That's gotta be rough on a drag. It was a prepped surface, all this stuff too.
I went down to where there was no prep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was a really chill track. I think it was Hawkeye Downs. I think it was small little track, middle of nowhere. But any track we can get nowadays, man, because they're all shutting down. It's such a bummer. But yeah, speaking of going off, we had somebody go off on our rally. Somebody who ate 6 sandwiches.
Oh, we don't have to talk about that. What I actually want to know is, because you went from a GT to a GT500, did some of that skill translate over? Did it feel like a GT, or did it feel like a whole new car?
No, it's a totally different monster. And that's kind of what we talk about Mark. One of his first track cars was that 2005 Mustang he's got still in there. And that's a solid rear axle. Like, so you start off with some, so like my orange car is way more raw. It's not nearly as refined as the GT500 is. It just feels different. Suspension's different. If I hit her too much, it's spinning loose. I'm going all over the place. So I think maybe driving something like that helps you hone your skills a little bit. If you start off with something that basically drives itself, it's hard to get that, learn what you can and can't do. So then maybe that's part of what helps Mark be great at what he's doing. That, and I think seat time is a huge deal. I mean, just the more time you're there, the more things, like I said, I was testing things out. I was seeing, okay, I'm going to brake a little bit sooner next time so I don't end up in the grass. And so I don't know. It's different. That one is a manual too, so that's hard to compare because I'm having to work the clutch at the same time, know what gears to come out in, all that stuff. The GT500 just does it for you. I thought about playing with the paddle shifters at all, but it's supposed to just know what it's doing. So
yeah, I had a totally different experience because I was driving manual, so I'm thinking about what gear I need to be in, right? For the straights and for the turns, and I was lucky enough to have an instructor who was driving a 2005 M3, so we were very similar cars. So he was like, be in third here, be in fourth on the straight, shift here, like brake now, just really helpful tips. And it helped me get sub 3 minutes at Road America. I would love to drive an automatic. I've never driven like a performance automatic, like the 10-speed DCT that is built for the GT500 for the purpose of tracking it.
No,
right.
It's an 8-speed in the GT500, right?
7.
7.
Oh,
that's
7.
Yeah, 8 in the GTD.
That's right, and then 10-speed into 5.0s, the new 5.0s.
Yep, but those are a normal torque converter automatic transmission. And I've heard if you want to track a Mustang of that caliber, you're going to turn up the power, you want a 6R80, so the previous generation of transmission. I've heard the 10s can get a little, once you start turning up the horsepower, they can be a little unreliable. But
seems to work for Mike. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike's enjoying it.
I brake my car, right? I've done it twice now, and then I see Mike, he's got boost turned way up, he's hitting nitrous, like he's just beating the hell out of that car, and I'm like, why is my car blowing up?
Well, do you think because you went the low route with, your pricing and budgeting?
I didn't. That was in the beginning, and it was never really on engine components. Okay. So the engine that was in there this last time, I sourced a short block from Dan Schoeneck, who's like the Ford GT guru in Minnesota, if not the entire United States. I mean, he helps guys restore their cars. If they've got wrecked ones, he'll fix them. He has like molds right from Ford to do parts for those cars. So he builds cars. He's been racing. He was on sponsored by ProCharger at one point in time. So I had my short block came from him, fully built by MMR. I mean, it was great. I had help from Moe's putting it together. I had tuned by Casey Whitmer. If there's any Ford guys out there listening, he's like our local resident Ford tuner guy around here. So everything was great, but both times I was in Iowa on my way to this event, and not just like in your city hotspots. This was down like in the middle of nowhere, Iowa. And so I don't know if each time I got into some bad gas or what, if I just was trying to push it and, was on some nasty 91, or maybe people don't buy 91 down there ever, so it's like got water in it. I have no idea. But that was both times that happened to me.
I think, do you think Ford just sold you a dud?
Oh, I don't think so.
No?
I will still back them through and through. I mean, I was pushing that car, doing some things that, although there's plenty of people out there running high horsepower, not having any issues.
Yeah, well, I guess, with you sticking with Ford, it just shows how much, you trust them.
Yeah, all of my other stuff has been, I've had Silverados, I've had Dodges, I've had all this other stuff, and I will tell you that Chrysler's my next favorite. I will give Dodge a tip of the hat.
So no Chevy, no GM.
I don't like anything that they're doing. I don't like their vehicles. The styling of them I don't enjoy. I had an Equinox for a little while that my wife drove. It was one of the biggest pieces of shit I've ever had. I had a Silverado that the wheel came off. I mean, I've had F-150s where the wheel bearing goes out, and it'll just whines for like 3 or 4 days until I can get it fixed, and you never worry about it. My Silverado wheel came straight off. Just see you later. Wheel has left the chat.
That's so funny because GM, I feel like, is Ford's closest competitor with the Z01 Camaros and the Corvettes. Like, Dodge doesn't really do cornering, and it's kind of like the meme, the Hellcat can go straight line speeds incredibly fast, and Dodge even knows that, and that's why they don't make lighter versions or sportier versions of the Hellcats or Chargers, because Ford and Chevy already dominate that market.
Right.
It makes me so sad because the Hellcat motor is such a great motor. Put it in a car that can corner. Please, just beat the just beat the Fords.
They do cram it in a lot of stuff, but not anything with like a nice independent rear or anything like that. They're they will put it in. There's always the joke, right? They're waiting for them to put it in a minivan, like a Town and Country.
That'll never happen.
No.
That's one of the best April Fool's jokes that they've probably released, just because it gets recycled every year, and people think like, oh, it's gonna happen. They would never. Yeah. There's no way a minivan. I don't know like how many people have driven a minivan. They're not meant to do what that motor can do.
Just imagine that though, like a front wheel drive minivan with a Hellcat motor. I mean, that'd be freaking sweet.
I mean, people do that with like Honda, like Odysseys. They'll put like K20s, K24s, like front wheel drive and they'll do burnouts. Like, I can't remember the guy's name. He lives in California. I think he had one of the most infamous videos of a minivan doing a burnout.
Well, are you talking about like the 1,000 horsepower one, like the maroon one or whatever it was?
Yeah.
I know who you're talking about. He was on a TV. Oh, he was on what was it? The TV show Fastest Car.
Yeah, Netflix. Yeah, where they went against like supercars or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that one with that guy. That was the one I was thinking of when you were saying all that.
Yeah, but like, could you imagine if you just could show up to Dodge and be like, I want that, like off the showroom floor? Like that'd be insane.
Yeah.
It is a purpose-built machine.
What purpose?
To do burnouts in a minivan.
I guess that's fair. Get the kid. Yeah, just peel
For
out.
us, it would be great because we have 4 kids, so we're always late to stuff. So it would be nice if we could throw them in the van and just go.
Durango.
Yeah, I know. She really, really likes her Excursion. My wife drives a 7.3 diesel Excursion and absolutely loves it. Yeah. I mean, it leaks oil. It smokes. It's loud. We show up to Hudson where all the moms are driving, brand new Tahoes, and she comes barreling in with her big pig, and it's just smoking and loud. It's a lot of fun. I enjoy it.
You guys are legit car enthusiasts. Like, I freaking,
absolutely.
Ever since you guys ride with me, like, you guys are freaking awesome because you guys also have your wife has a pro-charged Mustang as well.
Yep.
And it's like, and then you got a barn full of awesome stuff. I mean, I think one of my favorite cars is that Ford McLaren that you have.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Bruce McLaren raced for Ford, same family that's now doing the supercars, but they played around. So one of their more famous ones, there's an 80. Again, I don't know this for sure, but I think it's a 1980. Yeah, I know. I don't have that one written down. 1980 McLaren Mustang that they made with a 2.3 turbo in it. This was right as they were developing the SVO. And from what I read is SVO didn't really want to share the spotlight with McLaren, so they kind of killed that car, and then they developed their SVO. But he also did I have an 86 ASC McLaren, so America Sunroof Company. They would take a Capri from Ford and they would send it to American Sunroof, where they would do some modifications to it. It got side skirts and some other stuff. And then McLaren I think they picked different springs and things like that. I heard that they have a cam in them, but I don't know for sure. I don't know if that's ever been verified by anybody. But yeah, so they did a development with Ford for a few cars there for a little while. But yeah, so what I have is a 1986 ASC McLaren Coupe. It is car number 007 of 115 made that year. So then if you figure in color, combination, all that kind of stuff, that brings that number down a little bit.
Yeah, and it's white and orange, right?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a freaking sweet car. Like, we were just like, he was just showing me around like his place. I think it was like 2 years ago now, and I'm just asking like, what's under that cover? What's under that cover? And he's like, oh, I got a McLaren under there. So I'm like, okay.
I love telling people, you want to check out my McLaren? Then I show them this thing, and they're like, that's a Fox body Mustang. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's got to be actually like one of my favorite partnerships is the McLaren Fox body.
Yes.
It's just so funny, so ridiculous.
Right? A car with 200 horsepower. And you got
it
a award-winning race team. Yeah.
Which is even crazier when you go like fast forward, like when did the F1 come out? Like 10, 15 years later, you get the McLaren F1, which was the fastest, production car, in the world at the time. And it's like, look at that Fox body.
Well, I'm sure it takes a few years of R&D to go from one step to the next.
Just goes to show how fast life moves if you are a car developer.
Although I do remember McLaren break it down quite a bit this weekend, but, I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, one of them, which surprisingly was the newer one, not the MP4. I feel like the MP4 is the one that gets so much shit, like for being the first model that McLaren put out that's like mass produced. So obviously comes with a lot of issues.
Yep.
But that one was pretty stout.
So so on the rally there was two McLarens. The MP412. So that was actually the last year they were produced. So he had a 2013 one. So I would hope that they have all the kinks worked out by then. And that one was apparently making like 800 wheel is what he told me.
Yep.
However, the McLaren GT was with us, which we worked on in a hotel parking lot. That one was making 1100 on race gas. Because that McLaren GTs, apparently, they have the 720S motor in there, not the 570, the 720S motor, which he had on stage 3, which means upgraded turbos and all that friggin' stuff. So it's like, makes 850, 900 on pump gas.
Yep.
So, but yeah, I think the coil pack went out or something like that.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, after a track day, it doesn't surprise me. Like, he was beating on that car.
Oh yeah, it's a modified car problem, right? This is what I was trying to get away with my orange car. You're taking something that came stock, and when Ford puts them out or whoever, when a company puts them out, they don't go, okay, what's the most I can squeeze out of this? It's what's the most I can squeeze out of this and make it reliable. They're like, sure, they could put out 5.0s with 1,000 horsepower, but then when everybody's coming back 2 months later going, hey, my car blew up, then that doesn't work out for them. So that's one of the things when you start playing with things, which is why we get back to that whole thing with my car. I'm going to try and leave it alone for a little while, a few little mods. I'm sure eventually I'll get there, but
you could do a lot of things before you even start dabbling with power, I'd imagine, though. Right.
Well, then again, we'll circle back to where we talked about driver skill and all that stuff. You get some people that just don't know what the hell they're doing. Like that's gonna happen. So, but I'll get in a car with even 800 horsepower and I drive it for a good day, and I'm like, all right, now I know how the car handles. I'm feeling it. I know where its limitations are. Now I'm like, it needs more. So I think that's where you get a lot of the problems. And maybe some people are seeing people on Instagram and say, wow, that guy's getting that much. I want more than that. For me, I just get bored. You know what I mean? You get to where you're like, okay, I've got this pedal crammed to the floor. It's time to crank it up a little bit more.
Yeah, I think we've talked about this too before. A lot of the times, we're not really pushing our vehicles to their limits. On street driving, if you take it to Road America, you're going to find yourself coming up short. And then that's where you're like, I need more practice than more mods. And I think that's where people start asking like, oh, how'd you get so good? Like, I'm making more power, but you're faster than me. That's like, if you see a Miata behind you, is because they have way more seat time and half the horsepower, but they're going to be able to stay on you the entire time because of practice, not because they threw more money at the car.
Okay,
Right.
but let's get something clear. If you had a Miata on your ass at Road America and you're in a freaking GT500, I think you got to sell the car and pick up a different hobby.
I'm gonna get a little pissed off for sure.
You're like, I need more money. I
don't
need,
care
I need
how
more
much
power.
seat time.
Obviously, I can't get away from this Miata.
Well, did you see when they were telling us about that all on the track? They kept busting on the Miatas and the Honda Fits, which there was a group of Honda Fits out there too, which was amazing. I mean,
They were
I'm
cooking
like,
too,
yeah.
dude. Like they would blow by me, and I'm like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, there's that kid that was in the red GT500 that was there, and he was blowing by me. I assumed that he had more horsepower. I got off the track, and I was like, "Hey, man, is that stock?" And he's like, "Yeah, absolutely." He was pulling same track times as Mark, and he was freaking hauling it.
Yeah, see, that's what I mean. Like, I feel like a lot of people start building out their cars, and they're not really experiencing the full package. Take it to a track, take it to a drag strip, or like a road course, cross. Like you'll soon realize like you have so much more to learn from your car.
It's crazy. And like the other thing, so was the other GT500 on Cup 2s still though?
No, he was PS4s.
PS4s, really?
Yeah.
So that's even crazier, because like that's the other thing. When you switch from tire to tire, you could probably pick up, on a big track like that, you probably could pick up a second or two. Or
Mark was thinking that every time you go up in tire, you should get about 4 seconds.
Yeah,
wow.
He was going through some of those corners twice the speed that I could go in the corners. He was doing them at 90 miles an hour. I was doing them at 45.
Yeah,
some of them he could even do like 2.5 times what the speed that I could throw at it. Yeah.
And my PS4s were squealing when I was going through. And
I was squealing too.
Yeah, they were definitely. I'm assuming those Cup 2Rs were just like glue.
They're
in those corners.
basically slicks.
Yeah.
It was so hilarious when he got off the track, like the last session. We're looking at his tires, like his tires started folding in on themselves because they were toast. They were done, dude. So then when we were driving back through the rain, they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna have to stop. We're gonna stop in this city."
Well, we woke up the next morning too, and it was still sprinkling, but they must have made it out of there. I think they messaged us.
Well, that was a lot better than what we were driving through at the time.
Right.
Just a torrential downpour.
Were you getting any? I was getting some hydroplaning going on every now and again.
Not at all. He said he could feel it, but I mean, like I'm the one driving, so I was like, I'm good.
Once or twice, we hit like some standing
a huge
water.
puddle. Yeah. That's,
what are you running for tire size on the front rear? As far as width?
Front is a 255.
Okay.
And then 265 in the rear.
Okay.
Yes, that's almost Hellcat size tires.
Almost.
Yeah.
Almost. Yeah. So that was every single freaking time we come back from a rally. There's a torrential downpour in Wisconsin. Like last year, I was with Chaz in the C7 Corvette, and like he's like, "Yeah, we lost contact on all 4 tires a number of times."
Yep.
Yeah, and then me and Mark, we were in the GT500 on Cup 2s on a rally last year too. Yeah, and lost all contact on all 4s. But I know some ralliers, what they'll do is they'll run something like extreme contacts up front. So like, what's that? The equivalent of a PS4, I think. And then, like a race tire in the back, like a Cup 2 or whatever. And that gets them by. So in case they do hit some rain, like at least you have your front control. But
well, that doesn't always work out either. I had my 93 Cobra as I was cruising down one time, just barely sprinkling, drag radials on the rear, and all of a sudden it just went shimmied a little bit, shimmied again. I'm like, oh, that feels weird. Next thing I know, I'm spinning around on a road with my daughter in the passenger seat.
Oh.
Yeah, scared the living hell out of me. So I went home and those tires went right in the garbage. So.
Wait, you were just like driving them?
Yeah.
As a daily?
Well,
drag
we went
radials?
to a car show. Yeah, well, drag radials are meant to be on the street and then the strip, right? That's what they're for.
They're barely DOT legal. They put like one line in it, and they're like, legal.
Yeah,
you got rain protection in there.
They're what came on the car. So I had them on there, and I was like, no big deal. We went. It was sunny. It was actually sunny while it was raining. It was one of those weird, gray cloud popped out of nowhere. And so that's where I was like, no, that's not going to work out.
Yeah,
so
I did that all-wheel drive in the Durango. I got drag radials. I would never, if the road's wet, I would never, because I had just picked up the car. It went to the dyno, and we were coming back, and we hit like the smallest bit of rain, and it felt like I was on ice. It's crazy. All-wheel drive, even with all-wheel drive, felt like I was on ice.
It doesn't matter how much power or how many wheels you got spinning. When you get on top of the water, it's all like glass. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think my mechanic, he had borrowed it one time, and it just started raining that night, and he had to pull off under a bridge and wait out the storm, because he was literally like, I can't even go like 10 miles an hour down the road. It's so sketchy.
Yeah, dude. I was driving Eric's GTR. I want to say it was last year, and he had Toyo RRs on the back, which again, same deal, like no tread. And I just barely touched the throttle, and it was like lightly sprinkling, and it just got squirrely. And an all-wheel drive GTR, it's like, are you freaking kidding me, dude?
Yeah, tires are really important for what you're doing. I would never drive with them on anywhere just because of the tread wear rating. It's like 100. I get like 3,000 miles with those tires, and then they'd be donezo.
Yeah, what does Michelin say? You can get like 20 out of them or something? That's all bull. You're gonna get 5,000 miles on PS4s.
Oh, I've never hit 20,000.
No.
I hit 30,000 in mine. You saw how bald they were, though.
They were bald. I think you were about showing wires too.
I was just about it. I was through all the wear bars. And then I also, at one point, they were also overinflated.
Oh, yeah.
That was the sketchy. Dude, I am surprised that those tires weren't worse. Because, but yeah, 30,000 miles out of those freaking things. I mean,
Well, you're front wheel drive, so you don't really lose a whole lot of traction with the worse the tire that it gets, because all the weight's on the front and it just keeps the traction a lot better than rear wheel drive cars. When they start running out of tire wear, then you start noticing a really decrease in performance. So you got to change them after 15,000, maybe even 10,000 if you're doing burnouts.
Well, yeah, if you drive it. Yeah, doing that that track. I'm sure I took a lot of life off my tires this weekend, and they were brand new when we set out. So, yeah, I don't know, but I did a lot of trying to figure out what was the best tire. There's the only one you're gonna get that's all around track and street tire in case you get caught in the rain is gonna be your Pilot Sport 4S's.
Yep, I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
Love Pilot Sports.
they've got to be the best tire right now. As an all-around tire for performance vehicles, they've got to be probably one of the best.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about the rest of your collection, though, because it's been a while since I've seen it. So give me a collection
and it changes
update.
as I go. It's been a long time since I bought other than this car here. So I started off into cars when I was 16. My first car was an '86 Mercury Cougar. And then I've just kind of always been into cars. When I was in high school, my friends would wreck their cars or stuff. I bought several cars from my friends where they would hit them up and then their parents would get rid of it or whatever. So I bought a lot of $400 cars and switched out fenders and stuff. I had a lot of Rangers, Ford Rangers I could work on them. I could pull engines out of them, transmissions, swap them around, no problem. And then I was really, really wanted a Fox body Mustang, bad. And I couldn't. That wasn't something that I was going to do as a 16-year-old. I couldn't afford it. That was back when they were new-ish. So I have a Honda Accord. I have several of these cars to kind of get through. I get another Ranger. I'm going to work. Well, I finally get to where I can start collecting cars. So I buy myself a 90 GT that had a rebuilt title from a friend of mine. He had rebuilt the whole car. It was I think it was a theft recovery that somebody pulled the drivetrain out of or something. So he put a new drivetrain in. I got that car. I went to go now this is, again, young, dumb kid. I'm a 90s kid going to put 12-inch subwoofers in the trunk of my Fox body Mustang because I'm cool. I want to be Vanilla Ice, right? So I put the subs in there, and I'm going through the main boot of where the wiring harness comes through. And I shouldn't even tell this story because people are going to be so pissed off at me. And I grab my drill and a drill bit, and I just want to poke through the rubber. So I go to run the drill bit through, and it grabs and it runs right through the middle of a 64 wire wiring harness, right down the center of it. So I had this car for maybe a week, and then it got parked. Car sat for 12 years. Until I was finally able to get it back up and going again. I swapped out the harness. I pulled the dash. I had to replace the tank because it was solid rust. Got the car back and going again. And that was my first real Fox body car that I had. I still have that car. It's set up like a 93 Cobra. It has a lot of the same looks. That car will be for sale soon here. It's going to be hard to let it go. But since then, I started collecting more Fox bodies. So I bought... I have 3 93 Cobras. One is a teal car, which is the most sought after. That car is my teal car is one of 800 teal cars made, and with gray leather. And then I have a red gray leather car, which is 1,007 cars made. And then I have a red car with black cloth, which was only 362 made. We have a 1999 Celine Cobra. That was 12 made. That's a car my dad drives a lot. So 12 in a convertible. There was 20 total made, but 8 of them were coupes. I have a 1995 Celine S351 convertible. That was 126 total, 84 coupes and 42 convertibles. That is I don't know if you guys know what an S351 is, but that is a car that went to Celine. He pulled out the 302. Actually, they might have started as V6 cars. But anyway, he put a 351 in it, which was pretty cool for back then because the only thing you could get in a Mustang otherwise was the 302. I have my 86 McLaren. I've got a 69 Lincoln Continental Mark III that has the 429 in it. That's just a 2-door.
I didn't know you had that one.
Yeah, that one was. That's one that I call it the shelf because it's at the underneath on the lift and it's back there and it's got stuff piled on it. That one needs the power steering pumps out in it, and so I don't drive it a lot. And those things are pretty notorious for the windows not working. So it has some electrical things right now. I think I'm gonna get rid of that car too. My dad wants me to get rid of it because he says it takes up the space of 2 more cars. So
yeah, it's a big car.
Yeah,
how long is that car?
I don't know. It's probably a good. It's as long as my truck. I would say 16, 17 feet, and that's only a 2-door. The 4-door ones get even worse than that, which is what I want. I want a suicide Lincoln real bad. But then those went through the roof too, so they're hard to get a hold of. Mm-hmm. I have another 90 Mustang that has a 347 stroker in it. That car is being worked on right now. It's got some brake issues, things like that. That one I'm probably going to get rid of too. I got the taste of this new. So Fox body guy, no cup holders. My other car it seemed like it was always broken. I was having charging issues, things. I'd be on the way to car shows and I'd have to pull over and things were happening. So that's when I got my 2015. That was my first jump into a mod motor, newer Mustang. I actually put a post on the Fox body page and say, hey, I finally got cup holders. It only cost me $25,000. So then I haven't really looked back. So I have my Foxes that are what I would consider collector cars, some Celines, things like that. Those are kind of just investments at this point. I'd like to get them out to shows and stuff when I can, but I'm going to thin down the herd and kind of just go to this newer stuff is what I'm really enjoying. As I'm getting into more of this supercar territory and enjoying driving that stuff, I'd like to maybe unload the collection and get a GTD when they come out.
Dude, I don't know. I was talking with this about the GTD to Mark as well, because Mark is in that category of people that could
get
justify
on the list.
It. Yeah, he could get on the list. You know, he's a big Ford guy. He was the first person I thought about when the GTD came out. But I asked him, do you think this car's worth $300K? He's like, no. Maybe 200, but $300K is a stretch.
Yeah.
For everything you get. So I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of people that are just waiting to see what happens. Because if that thing does get some titles, some serious numbers under its belt, ring times and all that.
Yep.
It might make sense. But they're only making 5,000, I think, is what I heard.
Yeah, it's going to be limited. I went on the Ford website when I was looking at some stuff today, and you could apply to get on the list to maybe get one. So maybe they'll see what they have for interest in it before they finalize that number. But
yeah, it could be like the Hellcats where they were planning to make 10 or 15,000, and that's how many get stolen every year now. Yeah. So I don't know. So then, do we miss anything on your list?
No, I have some other projects in the works. I have an 89, or maybe it's a 90. I have a Bronco 2 that I really like. It's a 2-wheel drive. I want to lower it, put a V8 in it, drive that around. I have a turbo coupe that runs and drives, but I don't have a title for it. Your wonderful state over here. I've tried to go to the DMV. The guy who owns the car, he tried to apply for lost title, but he has to have the registration card in order to do it. So I tried to go there. Him and I went there together, and I'm begging. I'm like, please, I just need a replacement title for this. And they were like, no, unless you have that little piece of paper that goes in the glove box that any mouse could eat or anybody could lose, you don't get to do that. So I said, well, I tell you what, if I put the plate on the car and I go rob a bank, I bet you'll be able to figure out who owns the car then. So they didn't think that was very funny.
Did you actually say that?
Yeah, I did. Right to the lady. Well, you know how wonderful the people at the DMV are.
I feel like it depends on the DMV.
It is true. They've gotten better now.
You can do everything online too, or a lot of things online. Some people are like, oh, I had to go wait at the DMV for 3 hours. They'll post it on Facebook, and then somebody will be like, dude, you could have done that online. It would have taken you 10 minutes.
Right.
So it's kind of funny to see. They're finally catching up. Yes. They're finally becoming modern, thankfully. Some of them.
All those sad people without a job.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have this turbo coupe that I don't know what to do with. I would like to put a 2.3 EcoBoost setup in it just to keep it a 2.3 4-cylinder. And I have a lot of parts cars. I started off. I have 2 shipping containers full of parts. I have a lot of stuff. If you're a Fox body guy, get a hold of me. I can hook you up with what you need. And most of the local Mustang guys kind of know that. There's me and there's another guy on the other side of the city, Lee. He's got you covered in anything you need Fox body.
So what's the total number of 80% or more complete cars? Because I'm sure you have a bunch of like weird stuff that's like.
Yeah, so I was probably in that 10 to 13 range of cars that could potentially be on the road with a good few weekends of work. Yeah, it's I get made fun of a lot for all that stuff. I've had the city, my neighbors call on me, and because some of them sit outside with my parts cars there. So they called on me, and I had the guy from the county call me, and he said, "Hey, you got all these junk cars. You got these junk cars. You need to get these junk cars." He said it about 4 times, and I stopped him. I was like, "Hey, to you, they might be junk cars. To me, they're collectors. They're parts. They're worth money. I paid for them. I see a market. I think that needs to be filled. And I'm trying to do this. I'm saving these cars." And he goes, "Nope. No, you're right. I shouldn't be calling them junk cars. I apologize." And he said, you can't have these unregistered vehicles." He switched it up after that. You could tell he didn't want to make the phone call, but he had to. And so I bought instead. I now have 2 giant shipping containers that say China shipping, and they're all rusty. So I have them sitting in my yard now, where I keep a lot of cars and parts. I built a little box to keep everything in. So,
but this is your backyard, though, right?
Yeah.
So why is it? You're not in an HOA either.
No, I have 2 acres, kind of in the woods, sort of, but in town still. And I have just one backyard neighbor, I think, that doesn't enjoy my collection. Although he has an old Dodge truck out there now, so I haven't heard from him in a little while. So maybe he gave up.
Well, you got to call the city on him.
No, I'm not that guy, dude. You pay your taxes. You bought that place. You do what you want, man. I got my neighbor next door that hasn't mowed his grass in like 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, better call the city on him.
No.
It's such a dangerous game to play, though, because like if you start like it turns into this game of like chicken, like
right.
Then you start nitpicking at each other. It's like you don't want to start that game.
No.
It's like mind your own business. Unless it's something that's actually like really annoying, like that's a genuine problem, but it's just cars sitting on the lot. It's not like they stink. It's not like he just started like a pig farm right next to you.
And by no means think that like I have it looks like when you drive past a really bad trailer park and there's just random shit. I try and keep my stuff like in order and in rows. It looks like a nice organized junkyard. It's not bad. I keep them, and I have these containers now set up, and I do plan on taking the metal from my pull shed and encapsulating the one in there. It's just not high on my priority list. So
which is fair.
Right. I mean, it's whatever. I didn't have siding on my house for like 2 years. I pulled the siding off. This was right before COVID. And then I wrapped the house in home wrap. And then the pandemic hit and all this stuff, and all the siding went through the roof. I had a guy lined up and everything, and then he was like, "Oh, the materials," and then everybody was locked down in their houses, and then things got nuts, and I just said, screw it. So I sat and sat and sat, and I'm sure my neighbors really liked that one. So I just got that fixed actually here a few months ago. So
that's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love how much of a Ford guy. So, okay, so when did your, and this is probably should have been a beginning of podcast question, but when did your passion for cars start?
So my dad and I bought when I was probably, I don't know, I've always liked cars. I liked 4-wheelers, anything with an engine. I'm a very mechanical person. I tinker with stuff. I take things apart. I do all kinds of stuff. I don't always get them back together, but I do take a lot of things apart. I just always liked that kind of stuff. And then when we moved, I was in Southern Illinois for 5 years, which, by the way, I don't recommend. Don't go to Southern Illinois. It's not great. We come back here. I used to live in Big Lake before we went there. So I come back to the metro, and my dad's like, "Hey, we're going to do this car thing." We had a friend of ours that had a 69 Mach 1 Mustang, and I think my dad really thought that was cool. So we went out. He was always a Chevy guy prior to that. So then we got these 2 Mustangs. We bought 2 69 Mach 1 Mustangs. One was an R code 428 Cobra Jet car, which is like one of the holy grail ones. And then the other one was like a 302 H code. So we had these cars, and we didn't restore them. It's like any good car guy gets a project and sits on it for at least 2 decades before they actually do anything with it. So we ended up dropping the drivetrain in the R code car, getting it pretty much complete, and getting it to the point where it needs paint. And we paid $5,000 for that car, and while we're doing all this work, Gone in 60 Seconds comes out, the movie. Mm-hmm. So now everybody wants a fastback Mustang, whether it's Eleanor or whatever, and so we ended up selling the car, I believe, for $30,000. Mm-hmm. My dad's like, we're just gonna get rid of it. We're never gonna get it fixed, so we did that. Then him and I got into Harleys, so we rode bikes for probably a good 5-6 years, and then I started having kids. Once I had kids, you can't put them on a motorcycle with you. Those got parked. I still have them because I don't get rid of anything. I'm sure they're all rotted and shit by now, but So then I got back into cars. So I don't know. I've just kind of always been a gearhead. I remember back when you had to actually read magazines and stuff, doing like Popular Mechanics and like all the technology and the things that are coming and cool stuff like that. I don't know. I like to go fast. I like to drive cars. Just kind of been, I don't know, I guess forever is the answer to your question.
That's pretty fair. Because like for me, like I remember like my earliest like moment has to be driving the Comp Coupe Viper on Gran Turismo. Like I always had Hot Wheels as a kid or whatever, but that's like when it just kind of like when I got Gran Turismo and I learned what video games were, years after other kids, I was like, whoa, this is awesome. Because up until then, it was like, Nintendo 64. I was playing Mario, and Mario doesn't drive a fucking Viper. So it's like, or a Mustang or anything like that. So just, like, yeah, Gran Turismo is what pushed me over the edge. I never got into Forza until I got an Xbox. And then I remember driving like that one Nissan, like the crazy hypercar Nissan made back in the day, like a full-blown race car. But that's not a crowning moment, I suppose.
I always sucked at driving video games. I can't. Back in my day, to be fair, they were a lot different. I mean, I think Cruisin' USA was like the one big hot one that you could play, and that was like pixelated. NASCARs or something. It wasn't anything
You're a big
crazy.
Joystick guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Doesn't really translate to a steering wheel all that well. Dude, okay, here's one that I kind of realized this weekend. Steering wheels can be so wildly different.
Yes.
Like, so I'm in Mark's GT 500, probably the same thing as yours, and it's a pretty thin steering wheel.
Yep.
And then compared to like the one in the Beamer, it's like you got a big grip on it. So it's like it's just so interesting. And then like the C8 has this weird hexagon shape wheel for whatever reason. Like, I don't know. I think we've kind of just thrown out the normal circle at this point.
Well, and they all have their different. So it's a gearbox any way you want to look at it, no matter what the steering. So all of that can change too. In Ford, you can change it to comfort. You can have it to be, sport or whatever. You can change your steering modes. I've noticed in the GT500, if you see me do something stupid in the car, sometimes I'm just like reaching for my phone or I'm trying to grab my cup to take a drink. It's very, very touchy. If you breathe on that steering wheel, it goes like right wherever you touch it. So it's some of them you got to get kind of used to that. I think depending on what you're driving.
I think that's a part of it, but I think the biggest thing that made the GT500 difficult for me to drive last year was when the roads got really bumpy, like around Duluth or whatever, and it was literally just going like this, like, and that's because of the Cup 2s. They grip wherever. However, it was really funny. So Bud Zubert, I think his Instagram's like Bud's Auto Life. I don't know if he's really posting as much, but he had a Hellcat Red Eye. And he literally had to pull over because he thought he broke his car because the road was just gripping it so hard on those Cup 2s. And then he also had some loosey-goosey setting as well. So it's just, it was just ridiculous.
Yeah, it's rallying your car. And what I want to touch back on the racetrack stuff too. I love rallying, but you go from roads that can be great and they've been brand new paved. It's awesome. There was a dirt road on this one for a very short section. Jay decided to take his R8 off-roading on that section.
He put that Quattro to work, son.
Yeah, he did. So you never really know what you're going to run into while you're rallying. And then later you're on a brand new paved, nice Road America setup. So yeah, it's hard to... You get the right tire set up to do something like that, or race suspensions are real stiff and real low, but you never know what you're going to run into when you're doing this. So my orange car is actually kind of high compared to what some S550s I've seen, and I do that kind of on purpose because I never know what kind of terrain. My orange car, I'll straight up jump that one if I want to. The GT500, I was a little more scared about where I wanted to drive it. Actually, I stared at that gravel road for a little while before I drove down it, and then AJ came up behind me. He just looked and went, nope. He turned around and left.
Really?
Yeah, he did not. He wouldn't even drive on it.
Yeah, dude. He's skilled at driving too. I'll have to ask him, but he's got a lot of track days under his belt.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, he's just been driving for years and years and years, but freaking crazy. I did want to touch back. I forgot. So that when the route. So one of the people actually reached out to me a few months ago or whatever when I was looking for sponsors or whatever. But there's a guy. I want to say he's not too far from where you're at, and he basically like builds routes. Like he's trying to build routes for across the country. He's gonna do like a coast to coast run here sometime soon. But yeah, he put together a lot of the route for Carmmunity, and it was a really good route.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Outside of and I don't know if it was his fault or Dan's fault or whose fault it was, but one thing that happens when you're rallying is you lose signal because you're in the middle of nowhere where these beautiful roads are. Why are the beautiful roads all in the middle of nowhere? I don't know. Let's get a few cell towers. It'll be fixed. But some of the checkpoints were like, 200 feet off the road or whatever, just so you can, keep the map point going. Yep. So that really, that messes things up because then you can't get the map back and all that fun stuff. But the overall route was freaking phenomenal. It's just Google Maps is touchy. We've had issues on my rallies in the past, but I can say we never ended up on a gravel road. So that's a crowning achievement.
Yeah. Well, did you scout your routes too, or no?
Yes. Well, I think Daniel scouted his routes as well. Like you have to scout your routes. It's super important. The only time people ended up on a gravel road on my rally is because they weren't following the directions.
Or so I've been on River Valley Road Rally one time. We had a large section of road that was missing, but it was Gretchen that was putting that one together, and she apologized. But when she had scouted it, it was paved. They must have decided they were going to resurface it in between when the rally actually launched. Yep. And so I drove it. A lot of cars didn't. But again, that's for me, rallying, you have to do the route. You can't. There's no skipping highways. Like if you really want to, you do the full route. Otherwise, it's not the same.
Yeah, I actually remember when I went to Niagara, a lot of people skipped your route. Yeah. And they just drove on the highway. I'm like, what the? I'm behind. I'm like, everyone's way ahead of me, but that kind of worked out in my favor because I think I ended up with a trophy that. Oh wait, no, I was teammates with Mark, so we lost.
Yeah, you got second, right?
No, what are you talking about? We got knocked out of the running because somebody got to go drive a GT3 RS.
Yeah, so one of the things there's some conversations about me being involved with rallies in the future. We'll see what happens there. But one of the things that got me back into rallies or that made me do whiplash when I shut down Venom with Doug was you winning that trophy. Like I've never seen somebody so excited to win a trophy because like what I would do or what we were doing that year is we started calling more audibles. Like, like live points. Like, all right, if you go do this, you will get an extra 100 points or whatever. And like I feel like rallies you have to make it competitive somehow.
Yeah, and Dan, if you're listening, I think this one was lacking a little bit in that. There was no like bonus pictures. There was no, and I've done Survivor once with Ruth and Phil, and hers are like riddles. Like she doesn't even straight up like tell you where it is. It gives you a piece of paper and you have to you can always Google everything if you want to do it that way, but it's basically like a little riddle you got to figure out, and that's how you know where the picture is. And then you go there and get a picture, and then you have to show people when you get to the checkpoint or we get to the end, be like, here, I got these points. Which I think you did similar stuff like that too.
Yep, I think.
And you had like challenges too, like physical challenges where we showed up and it'd be like, okay, you got to kick a soccer ball into the net from the halfway mark or from wherever.
Yeah, Niagara, we had a couple really good ones and a couple weird ones like that one. Like I know a lot of people are like, soccer has nothing to do with cars. I'm like, all right, that's fair. We'll do bumper cars.
Oh, I don't care. Like if people are whiny.
It was a physical challenge.
It gets you out of your car for a second, man. Like I'm sore from driving this weekend.
Yeah, yesterday my back was sore. Like I tried like hunching over and it was like, nope, I'm literally stuck in the seated position right now. Like I cannot move my shoulders. Yep. My arms were exhausted. Anytime I try to stretch them, it was just so.
My body's cooked. Like I went to go deadlift today, like just to start working out again because it's been a couple weeks, and like I only did a plate because like my knees were like cooked. My back is cooked from just all the driving and sitting, and I'm just like, let's ease into this before I tear something again. So it's just like, but no, back to the rally point. Like, I think very few people did it as well as us, and this is not to toot my own horn. It's just that a lot of people enjoyed the structure that we did. We had a lot of varying ways of getting points, and which is why I was a little bit disappointed with the rally this year because Dan's challenges were freaking phenomenal last year.
I heard great things about 10,000 Lakes for sure.
Yeah, so have I.
Yeah, so like it was amazing. Like he had like a great movie trivia one where everybody got mad at me because like these were all movies that were made before I was born, and like I got a few of them right, thankfully, and they were car related movies too, I believe. But yeah, so he had that. Then he had some sort of physical challenge where me and Mark had to go around the park and collect stuff. And Mark was in a boot, by the way. I think he tore like an ACL or something. He tore something in his leg. Yeah. So he's like hobbling around. We managed to get one of the volunteer trucks to drive us around. Like it was just, we were using everything to our advantage. So it was amazing when we won 2 trophies. Apparently one of them got pulled back though, because one guy was like a tenth of a second quicker on autocross, which we found out later. I found out this weekend. I was upset about that, but I was like, oh, by the way, I gave the most kick-ass trophy reception speech. Like, people were just like, this guy's a lunatic. You know how I talk.
Yeah.
But anyways, challenges are so huge for rallies. Like, even the people who are like, I'm not going to do a challenge, they end up doing a challenge because they get competitive.
Oh, yeah. Well, you got the people that you can't base it. Well, look how many trophies Mark got. You can't base it off of whoever has the fastest car. There has to be other things in between there. The audibles that you call are cool, like just pictures of certain things, like getting there. It can't be all speed based, otherwise nobody's gonna be like, okay, these guys are gonna win every single time. The very first rally I ever did, really cool guy won in a freaking what the hell is that little crap car that Chevy makes? They make an SS. Cobalt SS.
No,
he was a winner, yes. But the way that River Valley structures their rallies is, if you're there too early, you lose points. They have like a timed thing where they're like, okay.
We did that too. Remember? Like we added the optimal time at some point.
Yep.
And people were like always trying to like figure it out. Like, hey, tell me what the optimal time is. Like,
and they will not give out their secret. And they also don't tell you where you're going. So when you get to a checkpoint, you get a card and it says, here's the next checkpoint. You have no idea where you're going to end up. They give you like a general area for driving home and stuff, but you don't know where you're going until you show up that day.
I've had people try to get me like drunk the night before to like give them like hints, for the following day. I won't say who, or like bribe me or whatever. It's like, dude, I will give you $20 right now. It's like, and then I'll get you this many drinks if you make it. Tell us so you can win tomorrow. And that was my favorite part. Is like when people get so competitive, they're like, hey, here's like 6 beers, buddy.
It's so funny because I went from being on a team with Mark, super competitive, and then the next rally I got to put on a team with Reed, and he just straight up looked at me and said, I'm not doing the challenges. Like, I'm not doing the photos, not doing anything. I'm like, okay, cool. So this year I don't have to worry about like taking photos, because with Mark, it was like we were constantly like texting each other, like, like, oh, did we get a picture of this, that? And Reed was just like, straight up, we're not doing them.
Yeah, who was also really fun to rally with? We had Chase, Chigs 392, who had literally off-road tires on his 392 a couple of years ago. But, dude, he gets so competitive. Like, they're just down to have a good time, dude. Like, I just love rallying with people who are down to have a good time. So that's kind of why I'm just itching to get back into games, especially after this year. Like, the Carmmunity rally was pretty good, but I think there was a little bit of wanting.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people would agree.
Yeah, again, I've heard great things about 10,000 Lakes, and I know Dan knows how to put on a show. So, and I'm sure with the mile, and there's just been a lot of struggles this year, and his whole trying to get Carmmunity off the ground, and all of that is, I'm sure, extra stress.
Yeah,
but it's if you want to keep people coming back, I'm gonna go because I know the challenges of, I'm sure, what it is to throw a rally. So I'm not. I'm gonna. I'm not saying like, oh, that was horrible, I'm never doing that again.
No, it was pretty good, and I think he's very receptive to feedback, and the best. He's got a lot of people in his ear, and based off of how things go the next few weeks for him, I cannot say any of this stuff on air, unfortunately. But based off of how things go for the next few weeks, things might go very well. So we'll just kind of see what happens. But whatever happens rally-wise, it will definitely be a big upgrade from this year. That I can for sure promise with him. And whether or not I work collaboratively or whatever with him, I'm just here to help everybody in the community. So we'll see what happens there. Yeah. Can you tell that my voice is still gone from the rally, by the way?
When on the way here, I was thinking, man, I think I'm a little hoarse. I'm not sure if this is... was going to be like, it was a rough that when we got back, we probably shouldn't have barreled through. I got to Eau Claire and I was like, I'm dying right now. Oh, Mal had to take over.
We were great, dude. Like,
really?
I mean, he slumped immediately.
So we get back at 1 a.m. and I like stand up out of the car and I'm like, oh my God, thank God I got home. Cause I'm like dizzy. I'm like so weak. I'm tired. I'm exhausted. And I'm like, he's like, do you want to clean out the car? I'm like, I'm not doing this right now. I'm going to bed.
I grabbed what I needed and left.
His car is still full, dude. Like, I was like, hey, all our podcast gear's in there. I'm like,
yeah, I told him like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. But yesterday too, so we got back Tuesday morning, 1 a.m, right?
Yep.
And so I wake up Tuesday. I'm like, I think I slept in till like 10 10, and I was still in bed. I'm like, I still feel absolutely trashed.
Yesterday I tried to do absolutely nothing.
And that's what I did too.
Yeah.
I didn't really do anything. I didn't leave the house except for to get some food, and I think I went to go shoot some guns with some friends, and that was it. And I went home, and I was like, even like during that time, I was like telling my buddies, I'm so tired. Like I can't do. I've never been so tired in my life. I'm just going home.
It was a big weekend. I mean, lots of the back road driving was exhausting. We did a lot of driving on day one. Road America was freaking incredible for you. I mean, you got 3 big sessions in of just driving the piss out of the 1M.
Yeah.
You with the GT 500, and then the third day was. I mean, it was still fairly exhausting. I mean, that Chicago traffic. I mean, especially if you're not used to it.
That's not what was the issue. I think with day 3, with 6 hours of planned driving, and everybody
we skipped
just
that, yeah.
tracked all day at Road America. So we were like, we're pretty good on driving. You know, I think we got our fair share of driving that
We just
weekend.
ditched a rally and went to Topgolf.
And
Yeah.
exactly. Like that next day should have just been like a relaxation day, honestly. Especially with how late we were getting into the hotels each night.
Well, getting in and out of that city is not absolutely awesome either. It's no matter what time of day, you run into some traffic.
Well, one thing that I brought up to Balto, and maybe you guys, I want to see if you guys agree with me here, but I kind of like a rally ending in the early afternoon.
Yes.
It gives you time to run home. You do your trophies at like breakfast. I think that was like one of the best, outside of some of the logistical issues I had on Niagara Falls with timing on the first 2 days. With the third day, you know, doing the trophies in the morning, and then going to go autocross and then wrapping up the rally there. I think that was actually pretty legit. Do you guys agree? Like,
well, now that I think about the awards ceremony, why didn't he just do that in the morning? Like, there were no points to be made on Monday. Like,
well, he had paid for, I'm sure, that fancy
dinner, but like
rooftop. If you do that, then a lot of people are gonna be like, and they're gonna skip it. Then it's gonna be 4 of us up there.
You could have done like we were at a really nice hotel, and we could have woke up, had another, you know, in the event hall or wherever, and just finished it up right there. And people could have decided like, oh, like, you know, we talked about just going to like, well, I guess he wanted to do the Hamilton collection. He could have done the award ceremony at Hamilton.
I think that would have been a great finish at the Hamilton collection. Just do some trophies and
then from there set out. And, you know, we talked about, oh, like, let's go to Topgolf, let's do this. Like, there was, I don't think.
And we would have been happy, and he would have saved some coin not having to do that last dinner there. Which
because
maybe he could
as
have
soon as
used in the beginning hotel instead of, you know, that last dinner.
Yeah, because as soon as that he handed out the trophies, we were like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, everybody was like,
we didn't stick around.
The second the trophies hit the last hands, I literally got up. All right, let's go. Like, it was super funny. But you know what the best part about rallies is, though? It's the parking lot parties.
Oh, yeah.
The car rallies need to have parking lot parties. Like, don't plan anything after 8. Let people do their own thing. Let's go hit the parking ramp.
They can't end, even on a big rally day, they need to end at latest 7 o'clock. Like, you need to be at your hotel at 7 p.m., if not a little bit earlier. So, like, my wife likes to take a shower before we go back out and, like, hang out, stuff like that. So, we need our time to talk about the roads of the day.
Yeah.
Bullshit with each other. It's been a year since we've seen each other in some cases. We meet new people. This is the most I've ever hung out with Jay other than that cruise we did. Mm-hmm. Jay and Matt, awesome.
They were freaking awesome.
They are in my best friends list now. They are lumberjack material.
Oh yeah.
They were great.
Yeah, I really got to get to know Matt this year. Matt Kuhn's photography. I actually got to know him a little bit more because last year he was just kind of in my vicinity. This year, him and Jay, like, they were just a blast to be with. But here's the deal: like, when you have those like rally dinners, you only have like the 6 people you're sitting with at this table round.
Yep.
But when you have a parking lot party and everybody's like around the cars or whatever, or fixing McLarens in the parking lot, or honking at, you know, people that are falling asleep in the valet parking lot corral.
Yeah.
When you have this ability, like, everybody kind of has these different groups, and you can walk from group to group. Like, hey, I'm gonna go talk to these guys over here.
Yeah.
You know, these guys drove a freaking Pantera. You know, it's like, I want to go get to know these guys. Mm-hmm. It's like, this guy had a single cab truck. I'm like, I don't know who that is.
Yeah. Otherwise, you know, you're driving all the time. You don't really get a chance to talk to people when you're driving.
Yeah.
So it's like that downtime is really important for interacting with the other participants.
Well, those guys are driving Ford, so I talk to them plenty.
Yeah, you talk to them plenty. Yeah. But it's like, it's like if you end up at a dinner table, you're probably going to sit with your people that you know.
Yeah,
like,
right.
We sat together. Who else? You and Sean.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah, we also went to other tables.
Oh, yeah, eventually. Yeah, but that's because also that's like we've been rallying for years. But for a newbie, like they might not be as open to doing that.
Yeah.
And I think there's something to be said about making rallies friendly for noobs. Like the thing about Crown Rally was in the last year or two is I think 50% of the participants were new. Not because the old participants, they don't want to go, but because, they wanted to filter in some new people. And whatever pricing change and all that. Like there's a lot of things that go into it, but you want to have a bunch of noobs coming in. It's just more people.
Yeah, I think that this price point we were at here, this is where I like to be. I've never went on Crown. I hear amazing stories. I wanted to at someday, although
it's worth every penny, like you heard.
Yeah, I've heard that. I just don't. So to me, if I can save, let's say a rally is $2,000, that's where I like to be. And if you think about what you get, so Jay was a skeptic. Now, we talked to him on that cruise. I don't know, I have to pay to go cruise with my friends. I'm like, yeah, but you don't. The rally coordinator provides a level of like planning, accommodations, track day. I take into that. That's a $500-$600 bill, a full track day if you're going to go do that by yourself. And that's only signing up. And then you're going to be out there with a lot of other asshats or other people you never really know. This wasn't a private event, but it was smaller groups. It really wasn't that bad. But
it was a legit group, too. Like, it looks like I think a lot of the people on the track
Had we been there on Saturday, it would have been disappointing, I believe, because they had twice the people and the rain. That would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, so it worked out in that regard. I think it rained every day except for the track day. Like, you guys had perfect weather on the track.
Yeah. And that's why I never spring for I usually don't VIP because I'm like, that's usually another $1,000 to $1,200 extra, and I'm like, man, that buys carbon fiber parts. Or the way I think about it in my head, I was like, that's a set of injectors, or that's this. That's how I always plan it out. And I was like, I'm still gonna have a good time whether my car's getting wiped down at night or whether I get on the track for stuff like that. Again, if Harris does a rally in the future, you should definitely get VIP because I'm sure it's worth it. I just don't.
So here's the question, because Sean, you've done VIP on a number of my rallies. What are your thoughts? I mean, do you think
I really like the value. There has to be the value, right? I think with yours, I got custom liveries and multiple options to choose from, color-wise, like additional colors to choose from versus like base colors like black, white, gray. I don't know what other colors you were doing.
Which we never really ended up adhering to anyway.
Yeah, but it was just nice to know like that I could get those special colors if I really wanted to. And you had a detailer that came out and he was wiping down the cars, like full on like wash. Like he had a pressure washer and his own like
a DIY pressure washer at
like
that.
a 200-gallon fuel or like water tank. Like he's legit washing the cars every night. You get some of the special benefits, launching first on track. Yeah, there was some value.
Actually, from our perspective, because I actually, was a participant this year, I never realized the full value of launching first until we left JWP and the McLarens and Mark or whatever, they were miles ahead of us already.
I was in lead of everybody. When we stopped, we were doing rollers right out the gate.
Yeah.
So I passed everybody right out front. I thought our launch from JWP was soft. Like that was, I'm used to like a rally goes, everybody's all adrenaline pumping. We're usually out just hauling. And I even kept being like, what's going on with Mark? Is there something wrong with him? I don't know what's going on, but he's like, I don't know.
They immediately had the camera cars go out and it's like, for some people, this is the only time you're going to see them.
Yeah.
And
that's true.
And so
we did that on mine too, though.
So make sure you're getting, your video, your photos, because otherwise, like, this is going to be the best memory, like, for later.
Yeah, but we would have the camera cars go out first for Venom and Whiplash as well. But after you passed the camera car, it was all hell breaking loose.
Oh, yeah, and
but
get away.
I think it depends on the highway, too, though, because we used to launch them at Medina Motorplex, and the second you got the second you got on 494, dude, you were gone.
Yeah, so. I've heard, I've gone to that place quite a few times, and it's, I've always been told behave yourself, so I've always tried to respect that out in that area.
Yes, basically once you're off 55, all hell breaks loose.
Yep.
So that was kind of I don't know, man. A lot of ideas. I think we'll get a lot of feedback, and I talk to Balto a lot. We help each other. We got a good thing going, because we both had the best interest of the car community in mind. So it's really exciting to see. 2024 is going to be a legit season.
Yeah.
It's going to be awesome.
This year was really weird. I mean, there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Cars in general, prices of things, interest rates, all of this is, yeah.
I think it's going to get all dialed in. I'm pretty stoked.
We'll see.
Shall we pop the usual 3?
Yeah. So if you don't know, we like to ask our guests a few simple questions about what kind of cars they're into, and it just generally breaks down to what would you choose for a daily, a track car or a show car, or and show car
with an unlimited budget.
Yeah. So I don't know. Again, I knew this question was coming, and I'm trying to prepare myself, and it's still really hard. So I got them written down here.
Our first person to have physical notes on the show,
yeah,
by the way.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a couple cars that I really, really like. So in track car, and this doesn't even make sense, but there's a Ford GT 1000 Hennessy Ford GT out there, 1,000 horsepower, twin turbo. That is that's a car I want to drive and then see what I feel about having that as a track car or a show car. But that's like one of the ones that if I had unlimited money, it would definitely be in the collection.
So what model is that?
It's a Ford GT, so it would be like the 2006, 2005 generation of Ford GT, and then Hennessy, which you guys are probably familiar with. They mod all kinds of stuff. They take it and they put a twin turbo setup in it, and it makes 1,000 horse.
Did those Fords GTs, did they come supercharged, or were they naturally
Those were a
V8s?
5.4 supercharged, like what would have been in an F-150 Lightning or something from those days, or the 2007 to 10 GT 500s or 2009. But not exactly. So they were a 5.4 supercharged, but from what I understand, everything in the Ford GT is completely different. It comes off of a different shelf. It may be a 5.4, but the block is different. The heads are different. Everything about them is different. Same thing with the newer one now with the 3.5 EcoBoost. It's not like the one that's in the F-150 or the Explorer ST. It's not that. It's completely redesigned, all that stuff. So, yeah, I don't know. That one just seems nasty. I've heard people drive it, and this is the car that's gonna end me. So that one would be super cool.
So you're locking that in for a track car?
No. I decided my track car is the 2020, the next gen, the latest gen of the Ford GT. I would imagine with all of the, and again, I don't know what they make or what they do on the track, but I want to track a supercar, and I'm going to stay true to my Ford buddies, and I'm gonna go with that. I mean, it's $1 million car, so I don't think I'm gonna have one at this point.
I thought it was 500.
When I looked up what they were selling for, like recent auction prices, they were in that 900 and up range. Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
I remember when they announced the MSRP being like 500. I'm like, that's
well. Let's just pretend that MSRP even means anything these days.
Well, back in when did they announce the GT, the brand new model GT?
I think
was
16.
Was it 16?
I think it first came out. What was it? You could buy it 2017, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's what it was. So they probably announced it like a year before.
Like in 2017, 500,000 MSRP for Ford GT. That seemed insane
For a V6 too. A lot of people were pissed off.
There aren't a lot of cars. Yeah, I mean Ford has been doing that a lot, but there weren't a lot of cars that have that price tag of $500K right off the shelf. Like even like Porsche's like top of the line GT 2s, like those have like 400, 500 demanding like price tag.
Yeah.
But like for a Ford at the time was just crazy. But now they're at almost $1 million, like around there.
I was looking at it, gave me like, you know how wonderful Google is. I started looking into stuff, and they were giving me like the last, like Mika Moksha's. One was sold on Bring It Trailer, maybe. That might have been a different car I was looking at, but anyway, yeah, they were in that 900 range.
Crazy.
Yeah, and a big thing with those Ford GTs as well, when you bought them, I think it was like, what, you had to hold on to them for like a year?
Yeah. John Cena tried to sell his like right off the bat.
Yeah.
Well, because he couldn't fit in it. That was basically like the thing that they were trying to get at. It's like, dude, he's a big wrestler. I think he's probably like 240, 250 pounds of lean freaking muscle. can't see me. He had to sell it, and they were like, no, you're not allowed to.
Yeah.
And I think part of that might have helped it retain value. Maybe I don't know.
It definitely puts it in the news, right? People are talking about it.
Well, everybody who bought one, they knew it was going to be a limited car.
Yeah.
Especially with that price tag, it's going to be limited. It's like nobody especially like that was before the Vipers really took off too. But like nobody wants that to happen again, where you miss out on this collector's car.
It's not really collectors though, because they're still making them.
Well, they'll be, but everything, even though you make it every year, there's still, everything is so mass produced. It's hard to get, like these numbers I was talking to you about here, you're not going to hardly see that again, ever again, unless they do something crazy. I mean, now you're talking about those cars are 500 when they come out. That's not, it's for the 1%ers, right? That's why they're the 1%ers. There's not very many of them. Mm-hmm. So that's, although now with YouTube and all these things, I think there's a lot of 16-year-old kids out there. Probably, they make a lot more money than I do. Yeah. But yeah, it's got to be limited because you're not going to sell a crap ton of them anyway. But some of these, I wish they would do that more, like what they were supposed to do with your Durango. They need to do some more of that. Ford still does it every once in a while. When the 2015 GT came out, they did a limited run of 1,964 GT 50-year cars. So they had special trim, all that stuff, and they only made under 2,000 of them.
Yeah, I don't hear a lot about Ford making limited production cars.
Yeah, well, I think that was one of the last ones. And then you take these GT 500s into consideration. My car is, I think, less than 1,000 made of the carbon fiber track pack cars for 2021.
And then when you start talking about like some of the more optioned out cars, then that's where you're kind of looking at like there's only a limited number of these.
Right.
But like where the Durango is like we're only making 3,000 of these, and it's like, well, that would have been nice if they kept that number to that low. But now they're going on for 2 more years. So
really,
yeah, 2023, 2024, you can still get a Durango Hellcat.
Yep, and a class action lawsuit at that.
They should, because some guys will buy that. So car collectors, and this is like I said, I don't know the market, but for me, I'd like to think I know cars a little bit, especially stuff that's going to be rare. You go out, there's guys that will buy trucks like that, and they're going to sit with what we call, or what I don't know, I'm assuming everybody calls that wrapper cars, right? They literally still have the plastic on the seat. They haven't been through dealer prep. They just came from delivered to the dealer to the garage and sat. Mm-hmm. Those are investments for some people. So they put that out there based off of what Dodge has told them they're going to do. And then they don't. So now you just got your investment. Not that they're still not worth what you paid for it or even over that at that point. But you go, hey, this thing's going to double, triple in value in the next 10 years. So you make that investment, and now that's not going to happen.
Yeah. Well, I would never put money down on a vehicle thinking, like, this is going to go up. Like, this is an investment for me. Like,
but some people do that, though. Like, that's a whole business.
Oh, yeah. But it's like, I don't know. You are risky. You're better off just learning how to play poker and using that as an investment vehicle.
Which, by the way, in case you didn't hear, Sean won $170 in poker 2 weeks ago.
Well, we are sitting at a poker table, so I figured you played.
I just had to bring that up again. All right, so we got your track car.
Yep.
So what do you want to do next? Show car or daily?
Let's do show car.
Let's do daily.
No,
daily?
He said he wants to do show car.
Well, okay, so I'll do daily. And again, I know I'm only supposed to pick one, but I really am digging this Raptor R. It's got to be a truck for me as a daily. I collect cars. I pick up stuff. I'm towing a trailer almost constantly. Or like a newer F350 6.7 Power Stroke that's been lifted and all the cool crap added to it, all that stuff. It's got to be a truck for me, something with plenty of horsepower and torque, and I can still fit the kids in and tow a trailer. I got to take the boat to the lake. I got to do all that stuff, so...
Perfect.
Truck.
Do you think? Yeah. So do you think like a Raptor R is like a tow vehicle, or is that more of a like?
I think I do both. I mean, it's at the end of the day, it's still just it's the same thing that's in the GT 500. It's a Coyote motor with a supercharger on it. I've seen plenty of people with Gen 2 Lightnings pulling things and hauling trailers and doing all that kind of stuff, and they were a performance truck, but they got the same transmission in them. They've got plenty of torque and power. Should be no problem.
Okay.
All right. Show car.
Show car. So I started off with 69 Mach 1 cars. I don't like cars that you see at all the car shows, and I feel like you see a lot of those. I'm getting really tired of seeing Chevelles and things like that a lot at car shows. I like cars, but I can't get into like the 50s and all that old stuff that really just doesn't do it for me. But it would be, I've always liked, so a 71 Ford Torino, 429 Cobra Jet Cobra. Those are, you don't see them. They only made them for 2 years. I believe there was only 2 years. The 70 and 71 had that body style. I just like them. It would, if it was gonna be a show car, it would have to be like concourse, like every nut and bolt, right, just 100% perfectly restored or original, something like that. Just something that's an old muscle car, but still different enough.
Yeah,
and it's probably only gonna turn the crank for Ford guys. That's the other thing too. When you get really into a niche, that's the GT500 is great because it draws a lot of attention. No matter what, you go to car shows, people like the rap, all that kind of stuff. You have a chance to win awards. But unless I'm at a Ford event with some of these other cars I have, nobody knows what the hell it is. So I know something like that.
There's somebody in your city that's building a very, very cool Ford Torino. I'll see if you might know who it. Actually,
I've talked to him. I know who it is. Yeah.
I don't know if you've seen any videos.
No, I haven't.
I'll
I've talked to him a handful of times. So I went to high school with his girlfriend, and her and I hung out a little bit back in the day. But I don't know him as well, except for now in the car community. But I did catch him in his Hummer EV the other day, which when I ran into him at the bar one time, he denied having, and then because I had talked to you about it once, and well, cat's out of the bag now. I know he's got it for sure.
Yeah, So that thing's been a project for a while, so I should probably see how it's doing. Yeah, but
when you have your Trackhawk stolen and your GTR is getting rebuilt,
that's the giveaway.
Yeah.
Well, sweet. Man, where can people find you?
So we are trying to launch a social media brand. Again, after talking with you, I've got, again, stories for days of things of collecting cars and picking them up in various conditions of disrepair. I've had a lot of cool stuff. I should have been videoing this stuff for the last decade or so, but we're trying to maybe get a YouTube going. We've got Instagram and TikTok. Facebook page is GunnIt Garage with 2 N's, GUNNIT Garage all together. We're trying to get better at it. I've got a lot of kids that are trying to help me out with all the, getting content going and all that stuff. So we switch from here now. We're getting to the season where I switch to snowmobile content. So if you like that kind of stuff, if you're dying for horsepower content over the winter, we'll be trying to do plenty of that. We drive fast sleds. We like Yamahas, and we do a lot of cool stuff doing that. I put 2,000 miles on my snowmobile last year, but if you want to check that stuff out, come check out our stuff.
Sweet. I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, the best part of having kids, that's free labor. You got a bunch of camera people.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be one saying out-of-pocket shit.
Well, they're really into it.
But that's what kids are for. You get them to do chores. You pay them under minimum wage.
Well, and they know
Mao Zedong has entered the fucking chat. Holy shit!
It's there's no labor laws or anything. And if they're children, you own a business. You can start. They can work at any age. You don't have to pay a minimum wage. You don't have to do any of that stuff. So he understands. Right? Yeah.
You don't. You've never gone through thought about the whole purpose of having children.
I really hope your child isn't employed at her current age.
But to be fair, you're going to put a lot of money into that child up to that point, right? So it should only be fair that they pitch back in a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's a little bit of stuff that we've been, and my kids, they do, to do the things we do, they help out a lot.
Yeah.
And we're not just, otherwise with all the stuff I have, I'd be working on crap constantly.
Yeah.
So I'm like, hey, I need help doing this while I get the boat ready, or I do this, All
right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Monoxide Podcast. I know you all hate me because we missed an upload, but we were out doing some fun rally stuff and all that great stuff. But nonetheless, I'm your host, Harris, aka Monoxide, man of many automotive aspirations, and I'm here with my Bucky's wearing co-host. Represent, dude.
I do like the shirt.
This is one of my favorite shirts.
Yeah.
Bucky's, you made a killer t-shirt, but I am Sean. I have a BMW 1M that is orange, a blue Durango Hellcat. If you don't know your colors, there you go. You can look out for them. Find me, talk to me. Love talking about my cars. The last weekend was insane. I'm still feeling it.
Oh, yeah.
And then, well, actually, do you want to explain the show?
Yeah, so this is the Monoxide Podcast. If you didn't know, we like to take you beyond the meat and introduce you to some of the people that make our community so great.
And today, we have the man of many Mustangs, Dan Deckard, GunnIt Garage, an old buddy of mine, of ours, who's been rallying with us for years. We wanted to get you on the podcast just because you do a lot of cool shit, dude. Like, you have a lot of cool cars. You're passionate about a very particular brand for very obvious reasons. So that's why I just wanted to get you on. So I guess kind of just, there's so many ways we can take this because we know Dan so well. Tell us. Okay.
Well, I figure I'm going to have to be a regular guest, I assume.
Yeah, not like we didn't just spend the entire weekend with him.
I know, that's the other tough part because we literally just spent 4 days partying across the country. So there's that. But let's just kick it off. Do you want to tell us about your latest acquisition first?
Yeah. So I think before this, if you haven't seen me around, I had a 2015 Mustang GT that my dad and I built together with help from local guys around the metro here. You know, you guys maybe don't run into them very often because they're all local Ford specialists, but we're hardcore Ford guys, and would like to think I'm the other guy with the orange Mustang that's not Mike Johnson. But it had another engine failure this year on the way down to a Mustang show in Iowa. And I got kind of fed up with it, so I went on the hunt, and I talked to my friend Harris here, and he kind of pushed me towards a certain vehicle that I had been eyeing for a while.
So with your old Mustang, it was built to the gills, right?
Yeah, I was trying to build myself a 2020 GT500 is what I was going for.
The Mustang GT500 from Wish, which you actually somehow ended up with anyway.
Yes. A lot of parts. I will give people some advice. I try and go the cheap route sometimes on parts. I'm like, oh, these are cheap but highly rated, right? So you think, no big deal, I'm going to do this. And then, so now you've just spent that money. And then when those don't work out, you end up getting the stuff you should have gotten to begin with. So I started off doing that in the beginning and then realized that wasn't the way to go. But that car was, suspension, BC Racing coilovers in the front. Got rid of the rear ones because they blew out. So, again, another option that's a little on the cheaper side. So now I have Viking double adjustable shocks in the rear, UPR lowering springs. It's, I don't think there's a nut or bolt on the car I haven't touched. 4 dual pump fuel system. It was a 5.2 block, Whipple Gen 4. I was assuming about 800 crank, but I haven't had it on a dyno really. Every time it was supposed to go on a dyno, it was broken. So,
do you think, because you're going to be fixing that car up and you're going to be giving it to your dad, right?
Yep.
Is it going to still be in that power level, or is it going to go?
No, I'm going to tune it back down. So, not that my dad can't handle the power. He grew up drag racing because that was the only thing you could do with the cars and the suspension they had back then, right? Mm-hmm. So, he knows how to handle the power. And he's been wanting to go on rallies with me, but right now he drives a 99 Celine Cobra, which is one of